What's going on, guys? So today I'm going to be reviewing the iFixit Pro Toolkit, or whatever you want to call it. I think it's called the Pro Toolkit. Just a quick disclaimer, they did send this out to me for doing a project. It's fixing a bunch of controllers. I still have to get around to doing that. I've been using this for a few weeks, probably close to a month now, and I have a few little thoughts about it, and I thought I would just show you guys because, you know, most people on this channel are interested in fixing things. And yeah, so when you open it up, this is what you get. You get some of the plastic picks. I think these are I think they're 0.2 millimeter, 0.3. Yes, there are different sizes of these picks. These tend to not last very long. All of them I've ever used, so I try to use them sparingly. They're useful, but not as useful as you'd think. They're handy if you're just starting out, but I found reusing packaging materials actually way easier because it's a lot thinner as well. As you can probably see, this is really hard because the microphone's at a different spot to the camera. It gets chewed up pretty easy. I consider these to be a consumable item. You also get some of these reverse tweezers. I've never found a use for these. Frankly, a little bit useless. I can see if they were handy for soldering. They're plastic though, so they'd be kind of useless for hot air work and stuff. Maybe if you needed to hold like a flex or something. This is aimed more at people just fixing screens and stuff. It would have been better to get some really flat tweezers. I don't have any on me, but you can get tweezers that they're flat like these, but they're this thin. They're like the little piece here is like as thick as this or as thin as this. These are actually kind of useful. They've got like a really grippy end on them, so they're good for like pulling stuff out. Used them a few times. Speaking of the tweezers, they got like this black powder coat on them. They're quite nice. They do look very sexy though, and they've got the iFixit logo there. These picks, I'm glad it comes with two of them. A few more would have been nice. These are really handy. They're a little bit thick. You can get ones that aren't really thick like this, just here. I prefer the ones that are flat all the way along. I used to use them on the iPad minis to get the screens off, and then I switched to using really long strips of plastic. But these are also really good. So you can actually, this one's probably a little bit too thick, but you can get ones that are flush flat like this, and they're really good for the iPad mini because the mini LCD on the iPad mini 1, 2, and 3, I think the 3 as well, they're all glued down. Not really glued down, they're stuck down with double-sided tape, and you have to get underneath them to slide it off. I'll put in some photos of taking one out. I'll just grab them from iFixit's website. Hopefully they won't mind. You can actually slide it in underneath the LCD, and the LCD has enough flex in the glass that it won't crack it. There is a better method to taking out the screens, but if this is all you've got, this is probably the best thing for it. You can't use alcohol or anything on them because they're LCDs, and that messes up the backlight. It comes with these nifty little sort of side angle tweezers. These are also really good. They're the sort of 45-degree angle ones. They're the pointy style. They're not the flat style, so they're really good. Just be careful with these. You can scratch the crap out of stuff with them. They're good for scraping back on traces if you're trying to clean something up. Again, they've got the nice powder coat finish on them. It also comes with an Esd Strap. This one's fairly nice. It does come with an alligator clip and a banana plug, which is always nice. The strap itself, the little clip on it, is kind of backwards. It doesn't really slide through easy enough, so when you put it on your wrist like this, it is a bit tough to get it tight. You want to get a nice snug fit like that, and then it's a bit difficult. I've used much nicer ones in the past which were way easier to use. No conductive thread in this either. The whole contact point is just the metal plate on your wrist, which is good enough. Such a sexy suction cup. Pretty good. I think they make even bigger ones. iFixit make bigger ones for the iMacs and stuff, but I don't work on computers, so. Ooh, now on to the spudges, and these seem like a custom design. This tool is designed to break before your device does. Yeah, they're considered consumables. They're not good for everything. I found these to be a bit of a pain for like the flat flex connectors, the ones where you lift them up. Just because they're so bulky, they're really hard to undo those. These are more for like getting in under like really tough stuff, like if you're trying to lift off like a Galaxy S7 or S6 battery or something where you need to get in under it, but you can't use like a metal tool like the spudger, well not the spudger, the spatula tool. Comes with 3 of these. They're pretty good. It would have been nice if they included some of the other style ones which are designed for, which are not really designed but more useful for flat flexes and stuff like that. The spatula, I like how it's got the little, it's not rounded off. This guy, which looks like a knife, but it's not a knife. These bend really easy, so don't bend them. If you bend them, they become a bit useless. This is probably the best thing I've found to remove glue residue off iPads. So what I'd normally do is wet it down with alcohol, like the glue area, let it sit for a minute, and all you have to do is grab this and go scrape it all off, and it makes all the glue disappear. Way easier. It's probably the easiest method I've worked out so far. I wouldn't use these on heavy stuff like if you're removing like a really stuck battery, because these bend too easy. And then there's also a magnetic pad in here. It's just like the fridge magnet material. Now this would have been really nice if they had covered this in a white, if this had like a white plastic film on it, because this is great for holding down screws, but the problem is, because this is black, it might not be a problem for everyone, but I find it a problem, is it's just a little bit hard to see the screws, especially if you're working on something that uses like black colored screws. So some of the Galaxies use them. I think MacBooks and stuff use black screws. So it's a little bit, just a little bit hard. Best setup I've seen for like a magnetic mat is just to have it white and just have grids. So you have the just plain grids printed on it, and then that way you can organize your screws way easier. It's just a simple thing, but you know, it makes your life so much easier, especially if you're doing a lot. Also, this material that they used, it's nice, the canvas, it's nice, but it gets dirty so easy, and you can't just brush it off. I don't know if there's anything better you could use. Here is the toolkit, and it comes with a nifty magnetic lid. ABS, not fiberglass reinforced or anything. Had a quick go of that. It's not. It's fairly strong, has neo-diddly magnets in it. Now this is the piece de resistance. So we have nearly every bit you would need, especially if you're fixing iPhones, except for one. There is one bit missing, and it's kind of disappointing, because they're kind of hard to get, the screwdriver. I've actually got one here, I'll show you in a sec. So it has this flexi adapter, so realistically I don't know when you'd actually use this because it's such small bits. Apart from these larger hex style bits, and yeah, it's a game bit. Oh, I didn't actually notice that, I didn't think it came with game bits. Really big bits like this, I could see this working. It's just for getting around corners and stuff. Also doubles as just a straight extension. It's a bit wobbly though. But for smaller bits, it's like the Phillips 00, 000, even your smaller Torx and stuff, I wouldn't use it. It would just strip the crap out of the screws. But it's good, handy as an extension. A bit bulky on the end because it has to be flexible. So if you're working on like an old Macintosh or something, one of the ones with the really deep recessed Torx screws, this I don't think would fit. If they included this and then just a full-on just straight metal bar, probably the same length, that would have been good for things like that where you can't really, especially with this one where you can't really fit it in certain packaging and stuff, like packaging housings and things where they've got really deep recessed screws. Because this is a multi-bit tool, it has to be thicker for it to fit. You lose a bit of functionality there, but you gain it with the amount of bits you can get for the price. Also, now down onto the bits, you have X amount of bits. I think it's 60, 70 or something. I don't know, I haven't actually counted them. Get everything you pretty much need, except for standoff screws that were used in a lot of iPhones. I think they still use them. They're used for the coax cables, and I'll show you one in a minute. And that's this type of screw. It's really hard to see that. I might put in a photo, but it's like a square Phillips. They're just difficult to find because I don't think they actually have a name. I don't think the actual bit has a name. I think maybe Apple made it up. I'm not sure. They're nice screws though. I like the design, but Yeah, this is lacking it. You can skimp by and use a small flathead piece, but especially in phones, you run into the problem where you might slip, and there's a lot of damage, especially on the older iPhones, the 5 and stuff, where people would slip and rip off the little passive components for like the battery, so for like the gas gauge and stuff, onto the handle itself. This is really nice. I like this, see? It's actually on a bearing, so if you pull off the end, it's got a little bearing there. I think it's ball bearing. It could just be a sleeve bearing. Not too sure. It is nice and it is good enough. I would have liked if they just like chamfered, or whatever you call it, the edge of this piece here, because this is all aluminium. I think it's anodized as well. This piece definitely is. This edge here is actually a little bit sharp, so in the palm of your hand, even if you're not cranking down on it, after a little while it sort of cuts into you a bit. It's not the best, and what I mean is they could have done, see how they did this on this end here? They could have done it up here as well. The bits are held in with magnets, which can be a problem, and the problem being, it hasn't happened yet, but I've had it happen before on similar screwdrivers, where you get little screws, you bump it or something, and then the screws get stuck in the end here and you have to pull them out with a pair of tweezers and stuff. Alrighty, so let's pull something apart. I got myself here an iPhone 4S. Also, one other thing with these could have been way, like, you have to really look closely to see them. Like, I'm not blind or anything, but the legend and like the print, this is just cut into the foam. It is a little bit hard to read. So if this was replaced, instead of being foam, if it was had like a plastic print overlay which just stuck on top, that would have been really nice. And we just just printed like what I recommended doing with the magnetic pad. I've always just had multiple screwdrivers, to be honest, been a little bit quicker. But I guess if you had the ones you use all the time, you could probably, even like in here, have some extra spots to put the ones you use all the time, like maybe 4 of them, like this. All the ones you use all the time, so your Pentalobe, your Phillips, and maybe something else, maybe Torx or something you use a lot. Put them there, so then like they're easy to find. You might get used to actually going backwards and forwards here, but I digress. So what I'm going to do is take out the battery. One thing about it being magnetic. And before, I'll use this pad. And like I mentioned before, this pad would have been a bit nicer if it was white with some grids on it. And then we're going to pop that one out. And then we're going to use this guy. I always found with the iPhone 4 and 4S, that was pretty easy, that the battery is a bit tricky to flip it up sometimes, because sometimes you actually rip off this whole connector here. Again, these tweezers, they're really sharp. I nearly just poked a hole through the charge flex. Doesn't matter, it's only a 4S, I got a few of them. This bit, as I was saying before, you can either come in here, pull it out. That would probably damage the end of it. What I normally do for batteries is I'll use a flat, you can also get square ones as well, the square ones are really good, of this, and then it's easier off camera, obviously. You just pop it in like that. You can't really do that on like the Galaxies, like the S6, S7, S7 Edge, whatever, because there's a gap in the back here on the screen. You can punch through the screen. It's such a pain in the ass to move. Take the battery out. See, this is the screw I'm talking about. There's a few in them iPhones. It's usually used to route the coax flexes around because it has a nice curved edge. And so this is what this screwdriver is really good for, because it's actually made for this screw. So if I go in like this, I don't think this one's magnetic. As you can see, it's a standoff, but with a different head bit. So like they could have used hex mount, which they do use in the 6S, I think. But that gives other problems where if you don't have enough clearance, you can cut a hole in the board and stuff. But I really actually like these screws, they're nice. And they have a little bit of curve on the edge. That's for the coax to wrap around it so nicely. Now, it would have been really nice if they had that bit included, but they don't. I don't know why. It's actually pretty common in phones. Not just iPhones. I've seen a few like Hawaii's and stuff use them. iPads use them sometimes. And then, so the main problem with these is not exactly getting them out, it's putting them back in. So if I want to put this one in like that, I can do it with this. Perfect, right? Just like a normal screw. But if I didn't have this and I'd have to use a flathead, it's like trying to screw in a Phillips head with a flathead. It's just floats all around the place. I was really good at doing these with just, it's also really hard to do it left-handed. Plus I need to eat something, I'm really shaky. Ah, so annoying. So annoying. Anyway, you can put them back in with a Phillips head, with a flathead, but the risk you run is like, is that even in focus? I don't know. Is slipping and then going taking out all those. So these are all the passive components for the charging connector. So the charging connector on the iPhone 4S has VBAT positive, the gas gauge, temperature gauge, and negative. So, and they've all got their own sort of input protection on. I think it's input protection, I'm not sure. Also, as I mentioned before, these are okay. They're not the best, just because it's so fat. pH fat, man. These are actually a little bit better. So if I wanted to pop this flex up with a normal pry tool, you should be able to get in there like this and pop it up, which you kind of can. You can risk damaging the connector by ripping the top off it. Usually the 4 actually go by the side just because it's a little bit quicker like that. But these ones are too thick. They're just too thick here, so that's a little bit of a bummer. If they included these and the other style ones, it would have been good. But yeah, so that's sort of just like my quick sort of review of the toolkit. It's been going for 31 minutes, so I have to edit the crap out of this. Some good things, some bad things. I really wish it came with that crosshead driver for the standoffs. It's just, again, these are cheap screwdrivers. They're just hard to find because they don't really have a name, or I don't know what the name is. So you have to search on like AliExpress for ages, typing in random words, iPhone screwdriver, whatever, sifting through thousands of pentalobes. These are great. They could be the thinner version though, a little bit too thick. That's just for rigidity, but these are disposable items. They're consumables, so make and break as long as they work. So that's pretty much it. Sort of an awkward review. It is a nice toolkit. It needs some additions. Again, having spots here for quick grabbity grab, and then you could just put them in upside down. If you laid them out properly, put them in upside down and be like wham with the thing, and be like if you had them in like this, like that. Maybe you put them in upside down actually. I don't know. Have to try that one out. Anyway, thanks again for watching. I hope this sounds okay. I'm using a new microphone, new setup, and yeah, till next time, see ya.